So before starting Growth Mastery with Rod, we knew we would get live calls with Rod. We knew we would get advisor calls where we would interact with other people. And we knew that there were some modules. We would go over different parts of life. What was above and beyond that we've enjoyed since then is the closeness, or I've only been in this for 3 months, and the vulnerability and the amazing connection that you can feel through a computer. So we showed up here for the retreat last night, and we had met a few, maybe 3 or 4 people before, and yet you all feel like you've known each other for years. So it's just that power of sharing and growing in a space that can be intimate so fast. It's really precious to take this as a couple, and I feel that privilege that I have, and because our relationship, we have the language. I didn't have to pull him into it, really, because I knew and he knew that this was a space he wanted to be back in. I just happened to start a month before he did, when he didn't feel like he had time yet, knowing how much processing we would be doing. But enjoying this program together, getting to talk about each call when we get off, if we're in the same space watching or listening and participating, and then when we're in an argument or in a good space or a rough space, even just giving ourselves time and space, which is usually what we do, and then the next day when it comes up again, it's been processed through our minds with the language that we're learning here. So it's powerful that we have the same set of tools to process, just like when we read a book together. It's just highly, highly suggested. I joined Growth U because of synchronicity, serendipity, whatever. A woman in my business offered 50% off so that we could take these classes. That's how I got in, because someone said, hey, these classes are really cool. I'll give you a little discount. So that's how we got into Big Picture. And then we decided to do another course. And then you're pretty much sucked in because you find out how amazing it is. And here we are in Mastery with Rod. My investment in this group and in these courses is really powerful. I'm going to say mostly in my intimate relationship, because we're taking it at the same time. It's just so exponentially moving forward compared to just me being the person that understands something and then enjoying the changes around me. But even the people that are not in this type of program, you find yourself, even just with words, I get to do this instead of I have to do this. And it reframes how you're appreciating a situation that you're in, or when you're with someone that's frustrating you and you use a power move, so then your energy is changing. And it's impossible for that other person not to feel it. The biggest message that I feel right now, because it's part of what I just spoke to inside, is just enjoying feeling your energy and being with your energy, and finding a space, whether it's this space or another space, where you trust the people that are giving you tools and guidance to stick with your own resonance, to keep finding the space that you feel the most expansive.
I'm so thankful to be here. And I'm going to share a story with you from my life about feeling the core of you and finding the string and following it as much as possible. And this story starts right after I turned 18. I had the privilege of having a graduation party, so I was getting ready with my friend and parents, and got the call about the boy that I had just been dating was in a motorcycle accident. So spent that night at the hospital. His parents showed me this paper grocery bag of his torn up clothes while he's in surgery. But before you associate too much, I want you to know that when we were getting ready for this talk, I think Rod, or one of the advisors at some point said, you don't have to have a tragedy or something. And the first thought that came to my mind was, yeah, mine doesn't start with wait, it does start with a tragedy. And I was like, and so that was one of the lessons I want to share with you, is that most painful one. I think it was the most painful thing I've been through. I was a younger mind. I hadn't dealt with much death yet. He didn't die, but I haven't dealt with much death at that point. And yet, this thing that had me rocking on the floor at one point, I remember just holding myself, trying to figure out how to get through life. I had forgotten it was a tragedy, because it had become something beautiful. I mean, he's a happy, young, childlike person right now. So he was in a coma for 7 months. So this is 3 months of my summer. I was in the ICU every day. I missed 3 days. I had to work or something. And then the first 4 months of college. And I had always wanted to work outside. I wanted to be a wildlife biologist or a whale watcher. I wanted to do something where I could just be outside. And now this event happened, and these doctors didn't know what was going to happen, or the nurses or the physical therapists. Well, they came later. But I remember being so stunned, not knowing anybody in the medical field, that there wasn't a recipe, certainty. I assumed there was certainty in medicine, right? I thought that, but it was ifs or maybes. The book says this, or I'm not sure quite when, what. I was fascinated. I wanted to be a doctor, but I don't know if I really wanted to be a doctor or if I just wanted to keep learning, because this was like an endless gulf of you can just keep learning forever and you still won't know it all. So I decided to go. I was in college because I got a scholarship. So I went through college, did all the stuff you're supposed to do, all the well-rounded volunteering, whatever, applied to medical school because I knew that's where I was supposed to be, but I didn't get in. So they give you a rejection meeting, and they told me to raise my GPA, and they said, take the big test again. So I did that. I raised my GPA 0.04 points, and it fit into the calculation, and retook the test and raised it quite a bit. They let me teach the class after that, which was awesome. And I applied again, and I didn't get in. And this time went to the rejection meeting, and the woman who was sharing with all of us told everyone else to take time off. And she looked at my application and she laughed, and she said, there's 44 red circles on your personal statement of I's, me's, and my's, and across your personal statement it says arrogant. I was like, okay. So this brings me to my next lesson. I had to rewrite my personal statement. This is all she said. Just tell us about your story different. So I paid a woman who billed herself as a woman that could help you with this, and she sat me down in her office, and she said, what do you want to do in 5 or 10 years? What are you doing? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you smell? What's happening in front of you? Which seemed a little odd to me, but it turns out visualization works. And it's a pretty cool tool. That's the lesson, a pretty cool tool that we're learning here that just keeps working in my life, even though I didn't realize it's what I'm doing. I wanted to work in a jungle. I wanted to fly into small towns. I wanted to learn about people's space and customs and what they do, and just have enough knowledge that I could provide some medical care while I was learning. And so I applied a third time, and I got in. And now, I forgot how many years, 17 years later, I am living almost, there's no trees where I work, but I am living this dream. I live out in, I forgot one powerful piece. On my way, the person that believed in me the most, that told me anything I could do after I didn't get it, after my first 21 rejection letters, he said, my dad said, maybe you should try something else. You might get hurt. That was a piece of the lesson I wanted you to hear, that pushing through that because of feeling that this is where I knew I was, this is who I was, this is what I wanted to do, and just being willing to sit back and be and feel. Now I'm living this life where I get to catch babies, where I'm 400 miles away from a connected road system. You have to fly to where we are. I get to take care of people in the hospital. And if there's a woman in preterm labor in one of the 56 villages when I'm on call at night, I get to hop in a tiny little plane with a couple of medics, fly out. Sometimes it's so cold and so windy that there's a snow machine and a sled, but we can't sit up in the sled, the wooden sled that's attached to it. So we've been in the position where we've been laying down, staring at the moon and the stars and all of our, it's like 40 below, and we get to the clinic and try to keep the baby in, come back. Most of the time that works. Anyways, I'm living this fabulous dream. And it started with feeling where I thought I should be and visualization. And I just want to encourage everyone that this resonates with to keep finding your core and resonating with that.